Hi everyone, welcome again to another 360 Timmy. Today we're in Haggerston in East London, and my special guest today is Damian Samuels.
Hello. Hello.
Welcome, Damian. So Damian's an actor of stage and screen. You've probably seen him in many things over the years. He's had roles in Doctor Who, Eastenders, Sherlock, to name but a few. He's also a writer, producer and director. So we're just going to go over his career and the highlights and lowlights, I guess.
Mostly lowlights.
So where did it all start? Where did the acting bug start from?
Acting bug started, well, like every actor, I guess, I was the sort of star turn in all my school plays and amateur productions and stuff, and then I went to do drama at university in Roehampton, and that sort of, you know, was a university course. It wasn't really an acting training course, and then after we left, I just dived head forward into show business, really. So
You always wanted to be an actor?
always wanted to be an actor. Yeah, I always, I think I just loved performing. There's pictures of me sort of when I'm in sort of 3 years old, dressed as Charlie Chaplin. So I think even from that moment, I think I've always loved just dressing up, and that's what sort of acting is. It's just dressing up and being silly, really.
And what was the first kind of roles? But theatre mainly to start with?
Yeah, I mean, when I was young, we would do sort of amateur dramatics, you know, musicals, Oliver, Annie, Joseph, all those kind of things. And then during school, I did plays, and then obviously university did plays. And weirdly, I haven't really done any theatre for nearly 25 years, and that's the one thing I really want to try and do, sort of, you know, in the next few years. I want to have a crack at that again. But yeah,
that must be great, because you get instant audience feedback, don't you, when you're doing a lot of things for film and TV? It's the camera and...
Yeah, I think what I've grown to not... The thing I think about filming is that it's kind of dull, you know. You're often around for a whole day for a very small moment of time, and obviously that's imprinted and there forever. And it's wonderful that people see that 20 years on, but the actual enjoyment from it in terms of on the day is not actually that exciting. So, and I think if you're doing theatre, you're getting that buzz from the audience, and it's the process of going there in the evening, and then the kind of come down afterwards and having the drink with your friends, and it's a different way of living. So, but all theatre actors I know want to do film, and all film actors want to do theatre. So it's kind of a...
It used to be quite snobby, didn't it, that if you were in film you wouldn't do TV, and that's really changed in recent years, isn't it? I've even seen Harrison Ford doing TV now. I think he's the ultimate one. I've never seen that kind of...
I mean, all we need is Michael Caine in Holby City, and then we've got the...
Or Coronation Street.
Yeah.
It's like to have, isn't it? So what was your first break in TV or film?
So I left uni, and I was desperately wanting to be an actor. So I thought, and because we hadn't gone to drama school, we weren't sort of given the full, right, you get an agent. And so the very first, it wasn't a break, but it was the very first audition I ever went to was for Ken Russell's Treasure Island.
Wow.
And I remember it being Pineapple Dance Studios, and Ken Russell was there in the middle of the room, and we all had to dress as pirates. And we all had to go around the room sort of singing hi-ho, hi-ho, it's off to work we go. And I thought, well, this is fun, this is good. But obviously, not normal, auditions aren't normally like that. And I spent a long time doing random shit jobs, like sort of lots of promotional jobs. I was the carrier bag at the Idle Home exhibition. I was an elf at Santa's Grotto at Selfridges. And then I'd do occasionally a little short film or a photo shoot, and then slowly you build up a portfolio, and then I got an agent, and then I had, you know, jobs like big commercials, filming in Austria, and then you just slowly build up a resume and a show reel. And then I did EastEnders. I think I've done EastEnders a few times, but the first time I think was probably about 1998. So that was, you just have to kind of learn. You're like a sponge when you're on set. You're kind of, no one ever teaches you this. You have to kind of listen and sort of know what's going on, because you know when someone says first positions or stand on your marks, you think, well, I don't know what you're talking about, you know, because no one's taught you that. So I always say to any young actors, you know, just say yes to doing short films even if they're not paid, because it's a great learning experience.
Absolutely.
And also, and often on short films, you are around more. You're not sort of sitting in a trailer.
Yeah.
So you are actually watching what's going on. And
I guess you get in short films like that, you get to perhaps suggest things, you know, changing the script, or you know, that maybe possibly where you think the character's going a bit more than you can on a bigger production.
I wouldn't get carried away with changing anything. It's just, but you can certainly, you know, you could certainly suggest things to, you know, wouldn't it be great if you did this, yeah, I mean, it's often tough with short films or anything that's not improvised. Is, you know, they're very tight on budget and time, and time is a currency really. So you don't really have much time to piss about and have fun.
Now, one thing that many people will know you from, well, they probably don't realise it, is a pop video, Basement Jaxx, Where's Your Head At? How did that come about?
That was just a regular audition. I think it was 2001. I remember going to the audition and ringing my friend Tim, a different Tim, saying, oh, there's this band called Basement Jaxx, I've never heard of them, what do they do? And he explained who they were, and yeah, and I think it was just an improvisation at the audition, this being a band manager or an A&R guy. And I remember at the audition there was 2 or 3 quite big actors there who I'm kind of friends with, and I know it was a hot job. It was like everyone wanted to do it. And yeah, I got the gig, and we filmed it in Prague.
Oh, very nice.
In a converted, well, it wasn't converted, it was an old mental asylum, and where they still had some patients on one of the floors.
Oh, wow.
So you never knew who was an extra and who was real. And it was filmed with great directors called Traktor, Swedish guys, and they filmed it in sequence, which was highly unusual. So you know, which is lovely when you're making something, you actually go, well, this is happening after that thing happened. And it was with real monkeys. And when you heard the song for the first time, you know, being on the playback, you were like, this is going to be good. This is going to be a big song.
It is a classic song, that, isn't it?
And it won, you know, several awards, MTV. It was always voted one of the scariest moments of all time. And weirdly, even though I've got a beard now and I'm older, fatter, redder, balder, I still get recognised from it, and because it's still being played because it's a classic video.
Yeah.
So,
and we'll put links to some of these videos in the description for the various platforms. So I guess the other kind of big highlight was the resurgence of Doctor Who in was it 2005?
Yeah.
That first season in a role. That was quite unique, wasn't it?
Yeah, I wasn't Doctor Who. No.
Or the Master.
Yeah. Or even a Dalek.
Yeah.
But that was again. Sometimes you know when you get an audition, you can feel that there's something special about it. I mean, some of them sometimes they're awful, but so had the audition with the director who I bumped into a couple of weeks ago, a guy called James Hawes, who currently directs Slow Horses on Apple TV.
Yeah.
He's directed many great things, and he's just directed this wonderful movie, which is just premiered at Toronto Film Festival with Anthony Hopkins about a guy that saved loads of kids during the Holocaust.
Oh yes, yeah.
And he... Actually, I bumped into him and Will Smith the other day. Will Smith, the writer of Slow Horses, who I've known for a long time as well. And I texted James going, oh, wow, your films, it's lovely to see you. I can't believe this amazing film's coming out. And I used to know the exec producer of That's Life, where this clip, the very famous clip of...
I remember that. He was in the audience. He didn't realise the children from the kinder transport, wasn't it?
Yeah. And the executive producer of That's Life is a guy called Richard Wolfe, who I've known since I was a child, with family friends. Richard actually employed James as a researcher on that, so it's come full circle. He's now made a potentially an Oscar-winning film about this guy. Anyway, so James was the director at the read-through in Cardiff, which I think was December 2004, there was an energy in the room. It was Christopher Eccleston, Billy Piper, John Barrowman, and then also Richard Wilson was in my episodes, but he wasn't actually there on the read through. So I said to the producer said, would you read in for Richard Wilson? So I had a lot more scenes with Christopher Eccleston than I would have had just playing my character. I asked if I should do the, I don't believe it, but they said no. And there was just an energy in the room. When you were watching Billy Piper and Christopher Eccleston bounce off each other, you thought, this isn't just Doctor Who. This isn't a continuation of Sylvester McCoy, or this is something very, very special. And
Yeah.
It was a very small part, but it was just delightful to be involved in something, especially with that first series. And I was in 2 episodes, and it was, it's a lovely thing to be part of, because when you meet anyone, they say, "Oh, you're an actor. What have you been in?" If you say Doctor Who, anywhere in the world, they've heard of it. So. And
that could have been one series and that was it, but it was obviously spurned where we are today. It's on air. It's bigger than ever now, isn't it?
And also interesting enough, this is another name drop, but Mark Gatiss, who I'm friends with, told me years ago that I was one of the very first openly outed gay characters in Doctor Who, and apparently in Doctor Who magazine a couple of months ago there was an article about LGBTQ plus characters in Doctor Who, and I got name checked and there was a photo of me.
Wow.
So
and that's all the way from 2005. Crikey.
Absolutely. So it's definitely something I'm very, very proud of. Not that I had anything to do with it, but it's to be involved in that first series was incredible.
And you've had quite a few experiences with some legendary film stars as well. So I think you've had I think you've had your face slapped by Hugh Jackman in a Lipton Ice Tea, tea advert. Several takes, I think it was, wasn't it?
Lipton's Ice Tea with Hugh Jackman, filmed in Budapest. It was, again, a lovely job, amazing director, amazing team. Hugh was, without doubt, one of the nicest actors I've ever worked with. Just genuinely, would have lunch with everyone, and was very down to earth. And his kids were on set, and it was just a lovely atmosphere. And you just, you know when you're working with decent people who they are. I've worked with some very dodgy actors, but they're often not the stars. They're the people that are slightly lower down on the pecking order. So that was amazing working with Hugh, and that was all improvised. So we had to get to certain moments, like little hit marks in the script, and that was for me the most fun, because I wasn't going on set and being really nervous, going, oh my god, I'm working with Wolverine.
Yeah.
I'm actually improving with Wolverine and making him laugh. And there was loads of stuff we couldn't use, because obviously it was you couldn't mention, Wolverine or The Greatest Showman or anything like that. So I don't even know if he'd done The Greatest Showman actually at that point. I don't think he had. No. I think he was just going on to do Les Miserables. So. He was a lovely guy, lovely guy.
And you also got to work with Carrie Fisher as well.
I did. I worked with Princess Leia. Again, that was my career sounds so much more glamorous in a very short form than it is over the course of 25 years. But that was filmed in Zagreb, in Croatia. It was a feature film, low budget feature film. Called White Lightnin. There was a very funny. So at the audition for that, the director, I think he was a guy called Dominic West. What we could do is we can continue to Victoria Park, or we could go up these stairs and go back towards Broadway Market.
We go back that way.
Okay,
yeah. I think that's good. Yeah.
So did the audition in London, and it was just on. My agent said, "Oh, there's a movie with Carrie Fisher," but we didn't know if she was attached or if she was actually going to do it. And also it was filmed in Croatia, but it was set in the Appalachian Mountains in West Virginia. So she'll try and cross the road. This will be fun. Shall we?
This will be a first 360 to me, trying to not get run over.
Oh, we got very lucky there. Yes, where I was. Yes, so audition, and he said it's set in the West Virginia. But don't worry, there'll be a voice coach on set. and you'll be fine, we'll tweak your accent. So I get to Croatia, I find out that Carrie Fisher's in the movie, so I'm very excited, and I'm in the hotel lobby and I see this guy who is Tim Morris-Jones, who's the director of photography on the movie, who was also the director of photography on the Where's Your Head At video.
Oh wow.
So I hadn't seen him for a few years, but so the last time I saw him was in Prague, and then I'm seeing him in Zagreb. And I thought, this is so rock and roll, showbiz. Shall we walk on that side, or what's up? So I get to set, and the director said, don't shave, because we think we're going to have you, you know, sort of with stubble. Anyway, then I get to set and the director says, actually no, we'd like you to shave now, clean shaven. So go into the makeup trailer, and it's a very low budget film. So I go into the makeup trailer, which is basically a very basic caravan. And there's a sink, and I'm just about to shave, wet shave. And then Carrie Fisher walks in, and I'm going, oh my God, this is Princess Leia. I used to have your little figurine, and I'm like, sort of, this is like, you know, this is every young boy's dream. And she sits down next to me, and at that point in my life, I've never shaved in front of anyone.
Yeah.
And now I'm shaving in a small caravan in front of Princess Leia. And she was amazing. We were chatting, and she had loads of stories, and she was filth, like very, very good fun. And then I get on the set, and there's loads of Croatian extras, all meant to be West Virginia, and you can tell they're not West Virginian. And they go, let's shoot the rehearsal. And so the words come out of my mouth, you know, I'm speaking this accent. I don't even know if it's the right accent. And they shot it and kept it, and that was, I still to this day don't know if that's the correct accent. But anyway, it's in the movie. I
remember that distinctly from your show, Will. Was it Priscilla White?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
That was it, yeah.
The fair step and feet of Priscilla White, or something like that. Yeah. I still don't know if it's a very nice restaurant there, Cafe Sicilia, by the way. So, yeah, that was fun. It was, again, low budget, sort of, but just good fun, you know. And it was a real honour to work with her. And like Hugh Jackman, just wonderfully charming, and I don't think you get to those places unless you're inherently nice.
Yeah.
Because I think you've got to be. You can't be an arsehole.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Yeah. Well, you hear about that all the time, don't you? But I always got the impression, though, from seeing her on chat shows and everything, that she was very down to earth.
Yeah, I mean, she was outside just chatting with me, and there was two other actors, and we're just chatting like we were, you know, queuing up at a staff canteen in John Lewis or something. I don't know. You know, it wasn't like I was talking to one of the big Hollywood movie stars who'd come from Hollywood royalty. You know, she was a jobbing actor, you know, so.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you've also another couple of classics you worked on. So you were on Birds of a Feather, the recent series a couple of years ago. Yeah, that was one of my bigger parts. It was a proper guest starring role. It was nice. It was the Christmas episode, and again, the loveliest people. Leslie Joseph and Pauline and Linda are just amazing, and they welcome you into this family. And they've been going for like 30 years, you know, doing that show. And they could easily just go, oh, he's just an actor who's in one episode. We don't really need to befriend him. But again, it makes the experience so much nicer and it was a lovely job. We filmed that down in Bournemouth, I think, and somewhere else. And yeah, that was just a really, really lovely job. If someone was to ask one of my favourite acting jobs, I think that would be one of them. So, and also we were dealing with the exec producer was Humphrey Barkley, who is proper comedy gold royalty. He was the one that put Monty Python together back in the day, and he is the nicest gentleman. And then I worked with him again on another sitcom with John Cleese and Alison Steadman. No idea what the name of it. After the Sunset or something. Behold the Sunset. Terrible show, like awful show, the worst script. And it's a shame because it's written by this guy that wrote, you know, with Terry Gilliam and stuff. But again, amazing cast of actors, just Anne Reid and so all these incredible people. But I got to work with John Cleese. But Humphrey was the exec producer of that, and
you know, he got me in for the audition. We can go up to up here.
Okay, yep, no worries.
Yeah, that was again, sometimes the actual final product isn't that great, but the experience you have on the show is wonderful. So
I guess that's always sometimes the case, isn't it? Things just don't work out. I mean, that's just...
Well, I think with this one, with the Birds of a Feather read through, with the table, what you do as an actor, you do a table read, and although Birds of a Feather wouldn't be the kind of show that I would watch at home, there was a warmth and laughter from around the table, even though the script wasn't, you know, ball achingly funny. It was, whereas this Hold the Sunset, you could tell we weren't actually getting that many laughs. It felt flat, even though there was all these amazing comedy actors working on it. It didn't feel right.
So also you were in Sherlock?
I was in Sherlock, very, very tiny part, and I kind of nearly didn't want to do it because it was such a small part, but my agent at the time said, darling, it's Sherlock, and she was right. And I knew Amanda Abington because I'd worked with her on a radio show, and Martin I'd met at the Arsenal many years ago. But the reason, and Mark Gatiss, who I mentioned earlier, he's the exec producer on it, and also the writer of it. You probably know, what's the guy called?
Stephen Moffat?
Stephen Moffat, yeah. He wrote my Doctor Who episodes.
Yeah.
And when I texted Mark saying, I've just got a part in Sherlock, and he went, I know, I cast you. But the great thing about Sherlock was, two great things. One, the money was good, because they showed it in cinemas on Boxing Day.
Oh, wow.
And that wasn't in the original contract, so there was a lot more money coming in. But also I grew a beard especially for it, because it was Victorian London. And later I kept the beard, and later that year I met my then girlfriend, who's now my wife, and I'm convinced if I hadn't have grown the beard I would never have met her, so it was a blessing in disguise.
So all thanks to Sherlock?
All thanks to, yeah, no shit Sherlock.
So that's interesting about residuals and things like that. I mean, is that, you've done quite a bit of work, I guess some stuff like Doctor Who will be repeated, you know, in entirety, but I guess that it doesn't regenerate an awful lot of residuals, does it?
Good word, regenerate with Doctor Who. Yeah. It does actually. It certainly did for a while. I don't know if it's kind of lessened. I think a lot of the old contracts you did. Obviously now with what's going on with the writer's strike and the actors' strike, you know, there's a lot of repeat fees and stuff that actors aren't getting paid for.
Yeah.
So I think, like, when I went to my very first commercial audition, I met older actors who were sitting there saying, I bought my house based on from a Guinness commercial. You know, that just doesn't happen now. You know, there's very few big paid jobs. You either got to do a lot of jobs to earn the sort of money you used to earn, or you get very lucky one particular campaign. But in terms of TV, unless you're the major star and you're a reoccurring role and you're in every block being filmed, it's not great dosh.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And that's a theme with acting, isn't it? Because you can be on something like EastEnders or Doctor Who, and everyone assumes you're driving around in a Mercedes and living the high life, but, you know, you might be out of work for 6 months before the next job comes along.
Well, that's true. I mean, I've got actor friends who have been incredibly successful, like in major Hollywood shows, and now they haven't worked for several years. You know, and unless you're good with money and you save money and you have an alternative job, or you know, I always say to younger kids who might want to be actors, I say, acting's a lifestyle choice. It's not a job.
Yeah.
So you have to be prepared for massive lows and sometimes not working for a year or two. You know, and also as an actor, you're kind of a puppet, a piece of meat, somebody else, which is why I went on to make my own short films, is that I wanted to be the captain of the ship. I didn't want to be just that person waiting for a job, you know.
And I guess you talked about the actor strike, so at the moment there'll be people who haven't been working for months.
Well, I tell you what's really sad is that as an actor you're always on strike until you get a job. But I went down to Shepperton Studios the other day because there's a post-production company that I've been working with because they're all sitting there waiting for a film project to come in. So they've helped me do some grade on my wedding video. And we went to Shepperton and it was so quiet. It was empty, like there was nothing going on. It was so sad. And then the other day on Facebook, a friend of mine put a post up for a friend who's a unit driver who drives actors to set, and hasn't worked for months. He does major TV shows here, and he's offering himself up for airport runs. And for me, I know it's sad for actors and writers, but it's all like in lockdown with COVID, it was the little coffee shop owners who were next to the big office blocks who were suffering. So it's all the people in catering, it's the hair, the makeup, the costume, the drivers, it's the knock-on effect, and they're the ones that aren't on strike, you know. So and no doubt their pay will probably be the same when they go back to work. So,
and of course the reason for the strike is this thing about AI. I was talking to a voiceover artist the other day, and he was saying that he'd done some work for a video game. He read several lines. When the game came out, his voice was a couple of bits of dialogue that he didn't do. They must have AI'd
right
in between. So this is what it's about, isn't it? It's the fact that you wouldn't be called back. They could just AI some scenes that they've
True,
overlooked.
and then there was always a joy when you were asked to come in and do ADR that you felt, oh, that's some extra money.
Yeah.
You know, and then sometimes you go in for a second, you know, whether it was the Birds of a Feather or Lipton Ice Tea, and if it was even if it was one word, they would get you in, and you'd end up with, you know, a couple of £100 or whatever. But that was always help towards your acting income. Now, if they've already got your voice and they can go, well, we can cheat that. We don't need to get him to come in. We don't need to book a studio. Then, yeah, that's going to have a knock-on effect for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know how they stop that, because who will know apart from the actor themselves, who will say, I never said Famalama Fizz Fadge, you know.
Yeah. And obviously they've used AI more recently to bring or make characters look younger in terms of like Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones. Carrie Fisher was brought back because she hadn't filmed certain scenes in her last film when she sadly died. So there's
I don't mind. I think, like, when Oliver Reed and Gladiator and stuff like that, I think there's very good reasons for using it, and the de-aging and aging process, I think that's quite fun. But I think not to have the actor there at all is, or worse, the writer. I think getting rid of the creatives is potentially very dangerous, you know.
So we talked a lot about acting, but also you're a writer, producer, and director, and you've directed. You've written 3 short films, I believe, and filmed 2.
I think I've only done 2, but there's one on IMDb.
That's what I'm referring to. I did my research, but obviously I was partially involved with Fish, with assembling your initial.
Yes,
footage.
you did the assemble edit.
So Fish was your first short film.
Yeah, the third one, I don't know who that is, but I'm taking credit because it looks good. Fish was the first short film. It was me and one of my good friends, Mark Haggerston. We originally came up with the idea for a competition for a film festival for Soho House. And we didn't get into the competition and we didn't win, and we thought, well, let's just make it anyway. And neither of us had any. Mark was a well-known film critic, I was an actor. Neither of us had any idea about the making of a film. And it was one of the hardest and most difficult projects I've ever done. But I loved it so much that I did a second one. But it's a real learning process. We'll go left here and then work way back down to Broadway Market. So yeah, it's a real learning process.
So I remember you telling me the synopsis on Fish before you even started filming it, and I just laughed out loud. You could say it in, I think it was 1 minute 30 seconds. You told me the premise of it.
Yes.
Incredibly funny.
It's basically a chef that wants to enter the Fish Chef of the Year award, and the night before a competition he meets a mermaid in a deserted swimming pool and then ends up sleeping with her for fish, basically. And then he has to decide at the end of the movie what he's going to do, because he ends up feeding her prize fish. But we let the audience make up the ending. But it was really good fun, and we did it on quite a good level, for a first short film, because we didn't go in and just. I always think, there's a lot of short films where it's just 2 guys on a bench talking, dogs barking in the background, and then that's it. But we decided to have a mermaid in our first short film, and an underwater camera, and you know. So
Yeah, you did have. I mean, I remember at the time. I think you had a red camera, which was quite unique at the time. And,
Yeah.
You know that, and there was quite a cast really, and some, you know, art director.
we can cut
DOP,
through here
that kind of stuff.
if
You know, it was a full production, wasn't it? It wasn't just you and a couple of people with.
No,
the camera.
I always feel like if you're going to do it, you've got to do it properly.
Yeah.
And there was catering, and there's we can just cut through that way there. But yeah, there's yeah, it felt like a proper deal. I think it's because we knew that we'd been on other projects, and I always feel like if you give actors who aren't necessarily getting paid to do a short film some sandwiches, or they're not happy, but if you give them an apple crumble and a shepherd's pie, suddenly it's a different atmosphere on set. And it was great. I mean, John Lee, who was our director of photography on Fish, that was one of, I think it was only his second short film, and quite a youngish guy at the time. He went on to be the DOP of The Bodyguard, that Keeley Hawes show. So,
Wow.
you know, so and also Christian Black, who was on that, who was our stills photographer. He's the go-to stills photographer for all the Mission Impossible films. So works with Tom Cruise all the time. So I always think they're a good ground for everyone. Like, if I look back at all the short films I've been in over the years as an actor, you look through the crew and a lot of them have gone on to some amazing things.
Yeah.
So it's a important thing to do, I think, from an actor or a crew point of view.
And your second film, I guess you learned a lot of lessons. It was on a much bigger scale, longer. The Five Wives and Lives of Melvyn
Go on.
Pfferberg. No,
Nearly. Yeah. The Five Wives and Lives of Melvyn Pfferberg.
That's it.
I wanted to make it really hard for Germans to say, so it was
come
just,
from Germany.
there we go. There you go. It was just my little dig back for all the years. No, it was. Interestingly enough, the surname of the Pfefferberg came from when I was watching actually Schindler's List, and we knew that originally the working title of the film was The Eight. Originally it was called the All-You-Can-Eat Lady Buffet, which would have been cancelled now for saying that.
Yes.
Then it was called the 8 Wives and Lives of Harry Cohen, and then it became the 5 Wives and Lives of Melvyn Pfefferberg. Pfefferberg because it was a name from Schindler's List, and Melvyn because Mel Brooks is my hero, and I just wanted to give a little nod to him. And yeah, like you said, I wanted to be more ambitious than the first film. It was bigger. It was 3 times as long, a bigger crew, 5-day shoot. We shot at Pinewood Studios. There was lots of stuff going on.
So you had to get finance for that as well, and funding.
We had to we did half. We did private finance from our friends at Ajartech, Andrew and Jim, who also exec produced the first film.
Yeah.
But then also had to kind of match their budget. So we did a Kickstarter, and we did that again, which was another hard project, but it was so worth it because suddenly you had an audience, a ready-made audience, you know, of people that had helped out.
And you had a big name for the soundtrack.
We did. We had Mel C, Sporty Spice from the Spice Girls. I knew that I wanted to have a Bond-style credit sequence mixed with animation that was like sort of from Around the World in 80 Days, those kind of Pink Panther films. And then I wanted to have a named singer. And we started off. We tried a couple of people. We started off with. I think we wanted someone very British, a British voice you would recognise.
Yeah.
So we nearly got Lily Allen, and then we nearly got Adamant, and then we nearly got Jarvis Cocker. But eventually, none of those things worked out. But then I wrote to Mel's. I'd met her once at a party. I'd met her many, many years ago when she was with the Spice Girls. Met her at a party at the Brit Awards. And I wrote to her manager, Nancy, and I said, look, we've got this film, here are the lyrics of the song. This is Tim, who wrote the song from the band Think. This is him singing it. We want an iconic voice, and we think Mel, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I wrote to her and didn't hear anything back. And then I wrote again a few weeks later saying, if this is something you consider, we really want to talk to you. And I always think a lot of people give up after, mind the bike, so we just need to, yeah.
No worries.
A lot of people give up after the first email, and I think it's so important to send that second email because that shows real keenness.
Yeah.
And she wrote back straight away and said, actually, this is something, if you can give us a few more weeks, this is something that we're thinking about. And I thought, oh my God. And then it was the night after Soho House Festival where I was so hungover. I mean, literally, my mouth was so dry. I got the email from them saying, we're going to do it. And I leaped out of bed and ran to, and it was one of the most exciting things because
Best cure for a hangover.
yeah. Your best cure for a hangover, get a Spice Girl to say yes. So
To the song.
yeah, yes, obviously. And it was so giddy. When we recorded, I actually, bizarrely, it all comes around because Felix, who's in Basement Jaxx, he actually makes a cameo in the film. He's in the dating sequence. And I asked him if we could use their recording studio to do the song, and he said yes, 100%. So it all came full circle. So and Mel did the song, she did it in a few takes, and she was wonderful, like wonderful. Bizarrely, I think a year or two later, she started having this renaissance, and I don't know if we would have got her. I think we just got that perfect timing of, you know, her not doing that much at that moment.
You might have been the spark for that.
It might have been, you know, seriously, I mean, just her being in the studio recording again, it might have, you know, she might have just gone, yeah, there's something, I want to do this again. So, and she came to our film premiere as well, so she tweeted out the film and stuff, so she backed it, and bless her, she didn't ask for any money at all. She was just up for it, and she was really wonderful, and it gives it that extra gravitas. You know, when you've got people, and it made everyone else who'd been involved in the film, whether it was crew or actors or the people that had given £5 on the Kickstarter, it validated it for them as well.
And you toured that on many festivals. I think it won a couple of awards, didn't it, as well?
Yeah, it won a couple of awards. It won one in America, like Best Fantasy Film, in Rhode Island, I think it was. We played quite a few festivals all over the world, in Japan. We had a wonderful screening in Italy, where they loved it. I mean, what's so wonderful about it is virtually a silent film. So the laughs, the comedy, it gets laughs in the same places in all the countries.
Is that, I'm a curious question here, because I've watched a lot of short comedy films. They don't have a lot of dialogue in. Is that because it does a worldwide tour of festivals, and is that what it's about, or is it just the comedy aspect?
For me, I think for me, I wanted to make a film that kids and adults could watch and laugh at the same things, or different things, but and also in different countries. And you know, you go back to, I'm not comparing myself to Charlie Chaplin, but you go back to Laurel and Hardy and Charlie Chaplin and these wonderful. They were always Mr. Bean as well, very popular around the world. Benny Hill. You know, it's just like, I know it's not the woke thing to say Benny Hill's wonderful, but the comedy timing of some of these things are just pure magic.
Yeah.
You know, and so. Yeah, it was in the back of my mind that if we can make someone in Japan and Italy laugh at the same joke, then the job's done, really.
So, would you like to do another short film?
I've said no originally because the amount of effort that goes into a short film is, especially the last one, it felt like we could have made a feature film.
Yeah.
The budget we had, the amount of actors we had, the crew we had. And I don't know if the payoff, the work involved is good enough for the payoff that you get back. Having said that, after a few years of not having made one, I am going to do one next year, and I won't say what the idea is now, but yeah, it's the first idea that I've written that I'm actually really excited about, and I'm hoping to do that early next year. So.
Well, I'm very excited to hear about that when that comes up. Just to say that the links to Damian's two short films will be also on the description on the various podcast platforms as well. Finally, Damian, what's the future hold for you then? What are you up to now? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, I still like acting, but I've decided to not do it as much in terms of I will do it when it comes in, when it's the right thing. I'm not letting it rule my life, because I always find that it's a way it kind of, I don't know, suffocates you slightly, because you have to be available the whole time.
Yeah.
So I've got a little business that I run, that's a seasonal business. I will be making short films. There's another couple of projects that I'm working on at the moment, and it's just trying to find a nice balance of having, of travel and having lots of time drinking tequila on sun lounges. So, yes.
You're very much enjoying life. Now, I want to say thank you very much for today.
Pleasure.
You said before I came out on this, my life's very dull. This has been one of the longest 360 Timmies we've ever done because there's just so much great material.
Well,
so.
also, you know, you never find an actor who doesn't want to talk about themselves.
No, exactly, I guess. But no, you are particularly fascinating, and thank you so much for today. Great
Oh, my
to catch up with
pleasure.
you
So
again.
nice to see you. And I love your shirt, by the way.
Thank you. That's good. Yeah. 360 Timmy shirts. See you again soon.
Bye-bye.